Hey y'all, we're in Proverbs 16:25 today, which says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death." There's a way that seems right to a man, but its way is the end to death. This is a very popular proverb, and I hear it quoted in various contexts because it's true. Very often, something seems like a good idea, but if you follow it all the way to the end, it's going to lead to death. It's going to lead to trouble or catastrophe. And this can apply in countless situations. We are much more likely to evaluate the beginning of something, the theory of something, without carrying it all the way to its logical end. And sometimes even when people want to bring up the logical end of an idea or a course of action, we tell them that they're just being pessimistic and they shouldn't judge us and whatever else. But I've found very often, when people are following a course of action or a plan or a theory or a way that seems good to them, it will keep ending in death, and yet they'll hang on to the theory or the idea. They'll insist that the problem is not me, the problem is not my idea or my belief or my thought, the problem was the circumstances, or the problem was other people, or bad luck, or whatever it is. You see this in relationships all the time. There are certain people that have a way that they go about relationships. This is me, girls or guys. Let me pick on the guys for a minute. Guys that have this idea that when you're in a relationship with a woman, you've got to be the one pushing her around, you've got to not let her feel happy, you've got to make sure that you're getting yours and don't let her get too uppity with things. And people think that and actually try this and tell guys that that's what they ought to do. And there's an opposite coin to that. The guys think I'm just going to stay back and be passive, and that doesn't work either. But you keep trying that, your relationships keep blowing up, and what guys don't say is, well, the problem must be with my idea. They'll say, oh, these women are crazy, when the reality is it's you doing the crazy thing. And this can apply to any number of relationships. You can blow up a bunch of marriages, your relationships with your kids, your boss, or whatever, and you think, the problem's not me, the problem is them. The way I go about relationships is fine. You know, it's good for me to be assertive and domineering and to try to always be the alpha in the room, right? And that's, if people don't like it, that's their problem. Well, it's actually your problem because you're the one living it. How about in the workplace, the way that we go about jobs? And sometimes folks will bounce from job to job to job, from business crash to business failure to getting fired to getting, passed over. And we got to ask ourselves why. Well, the problem is my boss and this job. But listen, when you've gone through 7 or 8 jobs, the common denominator is you. How are you going about your job? Are you saying things like, I'm not going to put in my full time and my full attention because this job doesn't deserve that. When I get my dream job, then I'll put it in. And so you show up late for things and you don't work hard and you mouth off and all that. And yeah, you get fired or you get passed up or your boss just doesn't really care for you and you don't get the hours you want. The problem is not him or them or anything else. And even if it is, you have no right to evaluate that until you've first looked at yourself. There's a way that seems right, which is I'm going to just take my time and this job is there to serve me. I'm not there to serve them. But the end is its way to death. It leads to trouble and to catastrophe. I mean, entire nations will try this. How many times are we going to try communism before we figure out its way is death? It leads to death every single time. And the problem is, though, we get that attitude of blaming other people. You're blaming them. You're blaming her or him or my ex-wife or my husband or my boss or my pastor or God even, this group of people, that race, black people, white people, Jews, whatever it is. I want to blame other people without considering the fact that maybe it's me and the way I'm going about my life isn't any good. And the Bible teaches us to look there first. Are you walking in wisdom? Are you walking in righteousness? You can know what is a good way. James said that God will always give wisdom to the one who asks. And this whole book of Proverbs exists to give us a good way to live. And it might not seem good to you at first, but what is its end? You might see your fathers trying to tell you to live your life this way. And you're like, I'm not going to live like that old man. That's so boring. That's so awful. Well, is your dad living the kind of life that you'd want? Does your mother have the kind of marriage that you would want? Maybe you should take their advice, even if it doesn't seem good to you at first. And ultimately, the way that you ought to go in is the way of Jesus Christ, who is the way, he said in John 14:6. Every other way you try, doesn't matter how good the religion sounds, how good the philosophy sounds, how good your own thoughts and imaginations are. If you are not putting your faith in Christ Jesus and his death on the cross, that way leads to death. And I'm here warning you right now, there is a way that leads to life. There are few that find it, but you can find it if you throw yourself upon the mercy of God in Jesus Christ. God bless you all. Consider your actions today. We'll see you next time.